Good morning, sir. I'm Sri Lakshmi from CSC CDX section. Today I am explaining about apply the concepts of transaction state and asset properties to explain how the database system handles to ensure consistency and reliability. Apply the concepts of transaction state and asset properties to explain how database system handle to ensure the consistency and reliability. Introduction of transaction. The transaction is a sequence of operations performed as a single logical unit of work. It is essential for maintaining data integrity in a system. Understanding transaction state under ACID properties is crucial for effective database management. Database transaction. A transaction is a logical unit of work performed on a database. It is a series of operations performed within a database management system against a database such that once completed the data is left in a reliable and consistent state. If any step of the transaction fails, then all steps are reserved. It is rolled back so that the data integrity can be maintained. Database transactions serve two main purposes: to conduct and bundle units of work that allowed for accurate recovery of data in the case of system failures, to provide isolation between different programs which may attempt to access the data simultaneously. A transaction is made up of one or more data modification. It happens independently from several other process automation to ensure that all data stored is available, safe and consistency. Transaction state Transaction states overview. The transaction states include active, partially committed, failed, and aborted. Each state represents a different point in the transaction lifecycle. Managing these states helps ensure that transaction process reliability and efficiently. We can go to transaction states in DBMS. First, we have to move partially committed state and committed state. It's called permanent store. And next to terminated state and next aborted state means rollback. Completed rollback we or exist to it is failed. It means failure. And again we active state means or relation operations and etc. Active state. In the active state, a transaction is being executed and can still be modified. In active state, we can modify or executed in any ways. The system is performing operations such as reading and writing data. If an error occurs, the transaction can transition to be failed. If when we have to perform a transaction, the errors will be occurred. That time we can go to another step. It is also called as transaction state in DBMS. Partially committed state. A transaction ensures the partially committed state after the last operation is executed. When the transaction enters into the partial committed and means it ensures the last operation is executed. At this point, changes are not yet permanent and can still will be rolled back. When we can occur the errors, we can also roll back the transaction back. If the system checks for consistency and finds issue, the transaction may be aborted. If the system occurs consistency, we can find consistency, then go to another step. And we got an inconsistent, we can go to rollback to failed state. If the transaction is failed, the it's maybe the failed state occurs when a transaction cannot be complete successfully. Reasons for failure may include system error, constant violations, or resource unavailability. we can occur the failures. It may be include some system errors, constant violation, and resource unavailability. Transaction in this state must be rolled back to maintain data integrity. Failure state assignment. Select 8 fields space and describe why you believe the state is included on the index based on the photo essay selection or on the chart with the ratings for failure states. Your responses should be your responses should be it. Aborted state. A transaction enters the aborted state after a failure or an explicit rollback. All changes made during the transaction are undone, restoring the database to previous state. This state ensures that no partial updates are left in the database. Type, types of transaction failure. There are two types: system failures and media failures. System failures affect all transactions currently in progress but do not damage the database. Media failure and hard disk data damage the database, affect all transactions currently use the portion. Example: disk head crash. Introduction into ACID property. ACID stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. These properties ensure reliable processing of database transaction. They work together to maintain data integrity and integrity during transaction processing. Acid property in WMS: atomicity, consistency, and isolation, and durability. Atomicity. Atomicity guarantees that a transaction is treated as a single unit of work. If any of the transaction fails, the entire transaction is rolled back. This property ensures that partial updates not occur, maintaining data integrity. Consistency. Consistency ensure that a transaction takes the database from one value to another. It requires that any transaction must adhere to all defined rules and constraints. If a transaction violates any consistency rules, it will not be committed. Isolation and durability. Isolation ensures the transaction occur independently without interference. This property allows concurrent transactions to operate without affecting each other's outcomes. Durability guarantees that once a transaction is committed, it will remain so even in the case of system failure. This mention provides a comprehensive overview of transaction states and ACID properties in database systems suitable for. Thank you. Thank you, sir.